Certainly a pleasure to join with you this evening. So many people ask, what are you doing as county executive? How's it going? Well, the easy answer is it is a tough job. Oh, okay. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Well, it is a tough job, a challenging job, but it's a job I wanted, a job I thank you for allowing me to lead you in Nassau County, and a job I think that we are doing very, very well. I am completely fulfilling the pledges that I made to you when I asked you for your vote. And if you remember, I sat in this very room, and we said, well, what are we doing in Nassau County? What am I going to do in Nassau County? And clearly said, repeal the home energy tax. That was that tax that was on everything and anything you could use to cool or heat your home. We did that. Peter Schmitt did. The Republicans repealed your home energy tax. Got rid of it. 2, freeze and fix the assessment system. We have frozen the assessment system. We are working on many fixes to the assessment system. This year, for the first time, when you receive your tentative assessment, if you grieved your taxes and you were successful, whether by settlement or adjudication, you will find that figure on your tentative assessment, which takes place in the 12-13 year. The assessment bill, or tentative assessment that you open up this January, or this past January that you received, is for your 12-13 school tax bill. That's the earliest we were able to effect. You'll see on there the justice that you sought. That will save you, Nassau County, from making the same errors over and over and over again. If you do not see that on there, we have instructed you to alert the county and it will be corrected. We said we're going to stop wasteful spending. We've reduced $148 million in wasteful spending in Nassau County. We've right-sized government. We reduced over 600 jobs. We eliminated completely 400 jobs. $55 million less a year in labor in Nassau County. $55 million a year less. $148 million in wasteful spending gone. We eliminated a 16.5% planned property tax increase. When I took office, January 1st, projected $133 million deficit. We eliminated the revenue that was expected from the home energy tax. We will end, by all accounts, 2010 in the black. We've proved to the people that you can manage without raising real property tax. Lastly, we said we create jobs and opportunities, which we've done very well at, considering the economy that we're in. We work very hard in many, many areas: homeland defense, green energy industry, and of course the film industry. But tonight we're here to talk about, how did NIFA come about? Well, NIFA has been the watchdog agency in Nassau County for about the last 10 years. Much of the criticism that they launched today involve contracts and deals that were entered into under their watchful eye. It's the height of hypocrisy now that they criticize those deals. They tried to make this administration wear those deals, when in fact it's this administration that's cleaning up those deals. They're permitted to take over if there is a 1% deficit. There is none. There is none. There's another part of the statute that says if there's an imminent and substantial likelihood of a deficit, they can enact a control period. Since I took office, if you recall, I was only in office a few days, I received a letter from NIFA demanding information. This control board, this NIFA board, is intent on trying to take back this county since the day I took office. They're not interested in the reforms that we have. We fought them back in 2010. All the way up to 12/30, 2010, they tried to convene a meeting and take over. The accounting principles that they applied in the past didn't work. Couldn't produce any likelihood of deficit. So what did they do? They changed the rules. And they're not adult enough to get up and tell the people, we changed the rules to arrive at a projected deficit. I am suspect. They offered no solution. They've departed from their past practices completely. When the prior administration faced challenges, they were calling for everybody to come together. and work together. Here, in this administration, so we're just here to comment. They have not offered any solution. They have nipped at our heels and saying we're in a financial crisis to get to this point. Yet when they took over, the very same body says, well, we enacted a control period, but since there's no fiscal emergency, we will not use our powers to freeze wages. Why are they here? I am suspect. I am concerned. I don't believe it is necessary for Nassau County to set up yet another level of government with attorneys and accountants. It is counterproductive, and it is not in line with your will, because it was the people's will that put me in office. We did it the right way. I told of the plan. I've executed on that plan, and now they want to stop that plan. Then you look at the board. The board is supposed to be a nonpartisan board. Well, yes, it does lean. There are more Democrats on there, but okay. But they're supposed to be balanced. The Republican appointee is Tom Swazi's former budget director. I'm suspect. The conservative was appointed by Craig Johnson, who lost a bitter battle to a Republican. Now, if this is supposed to be an antiseptic board of financial advisors offering solutions, I would be the first one to speak with them and take those solutions. In fact, we've asked for solutions, even prior to them taking the control period. I said, why don't we come together? Tell me of your solutions. You've asked for a budget, I've delivered a budget. You've asked for contingencies, I've delivered contingencies. When you didn't like those contingencies, I delivered more contingencies. And when you didn't like them, we delivered more. We've done everything we can within our jurisdiction and power to reduce the size of government, cut costs, put this county in the black, and not raise real property taxes. I am very concerned. They say they don't have the power to raise taxes. But that really isn't the true story, because they have the power to cause, and you should understand this, cause a real property tax increase. Because their powers include the power to not permit us to borrow. Nassau County borrows because it needs to meet its bills, because the state doesn't pay us in time. This is the history of Nassau County's borrowing, and it issues tax anticipation notes and revenue anticipation notes. These short-term borrowings are necessary to keep the county running on budget. If you curtail that, there's only two choices that the county can do. Cut services, further cut services, or raise real property taxes. It's the only thing they can do unilaterally by itself, with the legislature, of course. So, we're concerned. We're concerned because we're living up to our pledges. We're concerned because we managed the challenges set forth to Nassau County, and they have put it in good shape for 2010 as it ends. There's challenges in 2011. We've put forth a plan to meet those challenges. We put forth an extensive plan. If some of those risks actually become risks and don't be realized, we have contingencies for that. We've alerted the public that 2012 is yet another challenging year as deals that were made in the past come due, that this administration must pay and deal with. We've made it clear that the unfunded mandates from Albany are of a great concern, but we've certainly proven our ability to handle these challenges. What can NIFA bring to the table in 2011? We would ask that question. That's what I would ask. And it is clear financially they could freeze wages, which would save Nassau County $10 million. Less their cost to set up yet another review body. Less the cost of the new accountants that have to come in and the new attorneys that come in. We believed and put forth a plan that we could exceed those savings. We understand that labor is a problem with respect to deals that were entered into. We have been very clear with our labor leaders that we need to achieve concessions for 2012. We prefer that those concessions be voluntary because the contracts that they're entered into, collectively bargained, go through 2015 and 16. We prefer them to be voluntary without litigation. NIFA does not have the power to open those contracts. That's the first question I ask. They do not have the power to open those contracts. I have come up with a plan to allow us to order savings. And that is through the introduction of the Taxpayer Relief Act, which I filed with the legislature, and the majority leader here, presiding officer of the legislature, is taking up soon. And through the powers invested in that act, passed by the legislature, I will order savings if we cannot reach a voluntary agreement. And if those ordered savings are challenged, and I am unsuccessful, then there will be layoffs. We have a very clear plan to keep our budget in balance. Several of the labor unions have indicated they are willing to voluntarily step up to the plate, assist the county, and voluntarily open up their contracts. That's a good thing for the county. It's real savings, it's immediate savings, and it's without litigation. So that's where we are with our budget, which we maintain is in balance as an administration. It went to the legislature, a separately elected body, passed there. They've made some amendments to make sure that it stays in balance if some of the risks don't come true. And another separately elected body, person, the comptroller, has certified this budget. 3 elected bodies certifying the budget is in balance. Yet we have a watchdog agency that was here 10 years, questions items that were there before them, changes the rules of the game, and now enacts a control period, but now says there is no fiscal emergency, so they cannot bring any relief to the people of Nassau County. So in my eyes, they bring cost. I am here to represent the people of Nassau County and do what's in the best interest of the people of Nassau County. And that is why we are challenging their resolution to enact a control period. We do not believe that they met the statutory requirements embodied in that statute. Clearly, they have not met their mission, which was to offer solutions and to do all that they can to make sure that Nassau County remained an independent body. During the toughest of times, they didn't enact a control period. During the prior administration, when it reached a 2% actual deficit, it did not enact a control period. We are not even in deficit, and they've enacted. So we are concerned. And that is why we've moved forward. It has been difficult in the press to get our word out, and we've tried. And we have tried. But that is why we're here today, and we've taken our message to the people just as much as the same way that you put me in office. We believe that it's the right thing to do for the people in Nassau County. No matter what, we cannot allow people to subvert the will of few people, subvert the will of the many, to instill their judgment above those that were elected to govern. Certainly, if there is no statutory basis to do so. So, we remain steadfast in making certain that our county becomes more affordable, that we avoid real property tax increases, especially when Nassau County is the second highest property taxes in the nation. And I'm confident that we will complete our goal. We're very successful in our first year. I feel accomplished. I can look everybody here in the eye and say, I enacted those actions necessary to live up to my pledges to you. We did nothing less, And I believe in many respects we did a lot more to make sure that our county is on better footing. So I won't go on because I want to leave some time for questions and answers, but I hope that that frames the issues of why we're at this juncture where we must oppose this board's actions. Peter, do you want to, or do you want to say something?
I can let me address you on where I see us going, and I know that at some point in time the county executive has to meet with, wait on the meeting with the lawyers on.
Yeah, we're meeting on the litigation.
So if he has to go out, I'll certainly stay. But I can tell you that I am very confident, and in working together, and some of the things that the county executive touched on. We have a 2011 balanced budget that is balanced without a tax increase. And that budget is balanced, and it has been documented to be so. In addition to all the people that the county executive mentioned, the county have certified the budget as balanced, the county auditors, renowned accounting firm of, I always mangle their name, Delay & Touche, I think it's called. I think I pronounced that right. Deloitte & Touche. Thank you very much. French is not my strong suit. But anyway, by all accepted accounting methods, that budget is balanced, and it is balanced without a tax increase. Now, there are items that are at risk. And at risk means there are things that may or may not happen. Sales tax revenue may come in higher, it may come in lower. State aid from the state, depending on what's going on there, may be higher, may be lower. There are some items that are in the budget, such as an expansion of the red light camera program that requires state legislation. Hasn't happened yet, doesn't know if it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. In each and every case, if something goes wrong, there's a contingency built into the budget that can be activated in order to keep the budget in balance. We are not going to be deterred. We on the legislature are continuing to look forward, and we are now embarking on the 2012 budget. County executive mentioned the 2012 budget has challenges. We have a hearing tomorrow where we're going to focus in and get from the county's budget director the numbers, the real numbers, of exactly what these unsustainable labor contracts that the previous administration entered into are going to cost us in additional dollars next year. Additional dollars that neither the legislature nor this county executive can do anything about unless the unions voluntarily reopen up their contracts. So there's it's really an undebatable and a relatively easy concept. If somebody is working for the county this year and they're making $10 a year, then next year, because of a union contract and the provisions of that union contract, they're going to make $11 a year. There's an increase of $1. Now, if you're not going to raise taxes, and we are not, there will not be a tax increase in the 2012 budget once the county executive presents it to us. When it leaves us, it will not. It won't have a tax increase when he presents it, I'm sure. But it certainly won't have a tax increase when it leaves the legislature on October 30th. We're not raising property taxes in the county. That being said, if you're not going to raise property taxes and you have increasing costs, you have to cut spending. There's no other example. They could slice it 16 ways to Sunday. You have to cut spending. Now, there are things that the county has mandated that we have to do. For example, we received from the Navy 109 acres of land in the Grumman property in Bethpage. We are mandated under that law, where we received the title to that land, it must be sold. We have to sell it, preferably next year, well, this year. So if we're going to sell the land anyway, and the land has an appraised value, and we expect that the sale of the land, if NIFA would keep quiet and stop making the county executive disclose all of the plans on selling things and doing what's surplus properties and so forth, that land should bring in somewhere between $25 and $30 million. For 109 acres in Bethpage that can be developed by whoever purchases it and put back on the tax rolls, and it has to happen anyway. So we put that $30 million into the budget as one of the contingencies. If the budget falls up to $30 million short anytime during the year, bang, sell the property, there's the $30 million, the budget remains in balance. So that having been said, there are challenges for 2012. We're all in a hearing tomorrow to get real numbers on how much those union contracts are going to cost the county next year, and then we're going to embark, we're going to pivot off of those numbers, and we're going to develop a plan to cut spending. The spending will have to be cut. If the unions don't step up and voluntarily open up their contracts, and that's strictly within the purview of the county executive, the legislature is going to embark on a program of cutting spending. We're doing cooperation with the county executive. Spending will be cut. If the alternatives that we have is to either raise taxes or cut spending, spending is gonna be cut. And I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be some drastic things if it goes down that road. If the unions refuse to cooperate, there's gonna be some drastic things that are gonna be put up onto the table and have to be done, because we are not raising taxes in the county, period, amen. Now, NIFA, one comment on a little background history, the county executive alluded to it on NIFA. You know, we have a chairman of that NIFA board who's a managing partner in Wells Fargo Bank. When he was just appointed to the NIFA board, he was involved with Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers was in the process of collapsing around them, and he and 1,500 other financial people were going to be out in the street. And Tom Swazi's budget director, Tom Stokes, put $82 million of county money in Wells Fargo's bank. Wells Fargo the next week turned around and hired this guy, Stack, to be one of their managing partners. Tom Stokes, Tom Swazi's budget director, now sits on the NIFA board. He created all of these budgets that we inherited when we came into office with this $143 million that the county executive talked about, and all of these long-term labor deals and all the other problems that he and we have been wrestling with through all of 2010. This guy, Tom Stokes, was Swazi's guy, and he created those budgets. He testified in front of the legislature, because at Great Daily Rag Newsday takes great delight in pointing out that Mangano and Schmitt voted for creation of NIFA. Sure, we did. $100 million state aid, an oversight or a board that would help keep everybody on the straight and narrow as far as good fiscal practices, and they did. Now this board has morphed into this. We have a guy on there who's a managing partner of Wells Fargo. When the Wells Fargo Bank prospers, he prospers. We have no idea if he owns stock. We have no idea if he's getting bonuses. We have no idea what they're doing with the county's money. He's put us in variable rate debt, almost $600 million in variable rate debt. Every economist on the horizon agrees that higher interest rates and hyperinflation is going to come next year or the year after. They refuse to move out of that variable rate debt. When we ask them what it's costing us, they will not tell us. They go out and hire a white shoe law firm that former Judith Kay, former appellate or Supreme Court Court of Appeals judge in the state of New York, is a partner of. They won't tell us what they get an hour. I'm hearing that it's $900 an hour. They hire Grant Thornton, an accounting firm, to come in here and try and sabotage us. They will not disclose what they are paying them. We have the NIFA directors who will not disclose their financial backgrounds. Mine, every policy director in the county files a financial disclosure form with the county board of ethics, and it's there to be inspected by anybody, any outside employment. Who is it? What are your holdings as far as, you know, do you hold stock in this one? Do you work for that one? Do you get a bonus from this one, or whatever the situation is? Not them. Accountable to nobody. They won't file those forms. They won't answer any questions. Not only not any questions of us, they won't answer any questions of the press. You know, what are you doing? Where are you going? How much is this costing? We don't have to answer you. That's what they told the New York Post just this past week. We don't have to answer you. So this is what we're up against with these people. We know what they want. They want a property tax increase. They say they cannot pass a property tax increase, and they cannot. But what they can do, if you have all of the options on the table like we have with this 2011 budget, and they say you can't count the sale of land, you can't count that contingency, you can't do that, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and they sweep all of that away, what's left? A property tax increase. And they want to put us in the position where that's the only thing that's left, and they got a thing coming, because I will not pass a property tax increase through. I know he won't recommend one, and I will not pass one through the county legislature. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen this year to adjust the 2011 budget, and it's not going to be in the 2012 budget. And I might give you my next message from the correctional center. I don't care what they say or what they do. It will not happen. It's not going to happen. You know what? And I'll tell you why. I'm very sorry to see this lawsuit. I support it 100%, but I'm very sorry to see this kind of fighting going on between NIFA and the NIFA and the county, because it's unnecessary. And it would be very nice if we could work together. It'd be nice if NIFA would supply some help with the state of New York to get the $100 million that they owe Nassau County in reimbursements that's hanging out there that we haven't received yet. It would go a long way towards helping our budget. It would be nice if they assisted us in getting some of the approvals we need to bring some of these budget-saving methods to the county and to employ them. It would have been nice if they had weighed in on the county executive side and urged the labor unions to come to the table and open up the contracts and save money. They did none of that. They did none of that. They issued no warnings when the previous county executive entered into these labor contracts. Tom Stokes, who was Swazi's budget director, testified in front of the legislature when they wanted to extend these contracts that the money was there. The money was in the budget to pay these in the future years going out. It's just not true. It wasn't true, but well, we were told that's what the testimony was. So, based on the evidence in front of us, everybody voted to extend the contract. So now they've hijacked us in that respect, and if they don't step up and voluntarily open up their contracts, well, we're going to find out what it's going to cost us next year, and then you stay tuned, because after tomorrow we will pivot off from there. From tonight, you should take away, my message to you is to take away three things. Number one, there's not going to be a property tax in this county on our watch. Number two, elections matter. That's why we fight this lawsuit. Elections matter. We came and we said, if you elect us, we will not raise taxes, we will repeal the energy tax, we will do all of the things that the county executive has just finished telling you that have been done. And they don't like it. They want to see, they're all Wall Street people, they're all involved in their financial houses. You're not sure, you're not allowed to know which ones. But they're all involved in one way or another, and they're very comfortable with whatever businesses that they've floated out, and the good old boy network or whatever it might be. I don't know what the conflicts are, if any. But they want to see, when they say recurring revenue, when you read in the newspaper recurring revenue, hold on to your pocketbook. A recurring revenue is a tax increase. That's what comes in each and every year, is taxes. So if you raise the tax, you have a recurring revenue. If you don't raise the tax, you don't have a recurring revenue. It's just that simple. So when these guys talk about a recurring revenue, they're talking about a tax increase. They would like to see the home energy tax back. They've made it clear, not going to happen. So elections matter. We're elected. We were elected by the people, and if you don't like what we're doing, and when the time comes, which for me will be this November, throw me out if you don't like the report card. That's the report card. If you don't like the direction that I'm taking the legislature in as far as no tax increase, then you can vote. You vote. You act accordingly. If they don't like what people don't like what Ed Mangano was doing as county executive, then you vote. When the time comes to vote for county executive, these guys are not elected. They never disclosed their plans to the public. They never came to you and said what they would do if they were running Nassau County. And poof, bang, all of a sudden they try to morph themselves into an illegal board to have policy-making influence in this county without disclosing what their backgrounds are, without talking about where their authority comes from, without talking about what their plans are or what they would like to see happen. And we're not going to tolerate it. There's not. I'm just going to say the same thing over and over again from here until whatever. There's not going to be a tax increase. Period. And that's the message that we have. That's where we are, and you should be mad as hell at what's going on here, because they're trying to force us into a tax increase, and we're not going to do it. But you gotta read. I mean, the last time we met was before the congressional elections, and I said to you, you got to get past Newsday. You got to get onto the internet and you got to look up the facts about your representatives. In that case, you're talking about Congress and the rest of them. There are people who increase taxes and there are people who don't increase taxes. It's very simple. You can't be both. You can't be both, and you can't compromise that. A little tax increase so that we can all sing Kumbaya and work together doesn't cut it. That's not what we want to see. We said we were going to go this way. We're going this way. It's successful. They should be helping you, because when they help us to keep this budget in balance, they're helping you. They don't do it, and we're not changing. So here, unfortunately, we like this. So that battle's going to rage back and forth, and county executive will fight it out with, because that's his role as the chief executive officer of the county, and the legislature's not going to be distracted, and we're going to work tomorrow, as I told you, on the 2012 budget, and then we'll come up with what we have to come up with, and to keep that budget in balance. Ed, if you're going to stay and go on.
I get like